1, 2, mic check 1, 2. Oh my goodness, I forgot to bring up my other recording software. I don't even know if I'm going to do that. No, let's go ahead and get started. All right. Thank everybody for tuning in. Those who will tune in, who may tune in, I appreciate it. Thank everybody for tuning in to this installment of the 19 Report. Coming to you live from Manning, South Carolina. I am Jamil Salib Zamir. As always, I thank everyone for tuning in. And today, I apologize. First of all, I won't be looking at the screen too much, but this is going to take about an hour. Kudos to those who can get their message across in 5 minutes and you all understand everything about it. I mean, I think that's great. I wish I could do it, but that's not what God instructed me to do. So I'm going to go into this thing. Got a bunch of notes and they're all messed up. But the truth of the matter is I was supposed to have this done several weeks ago. So I am behind on it, and I apologize for that. But circumstances and events have put me in a certain situation right now. I'm not able to sit very long. I have to wear 3 back braces in order to walk. Had a very unfortunate accident in '89 where I fell off a ladder. I had 50 pounds of shingles on this shoulder, 50 on that shoulder. The ladder slipped. I fell very high, hit the grass. Thank God for that. But my legs were this way and my body was that way. At the time, I didn't get the surgery because I would have had to have been in constraints or restraints or whatever for such a long period of time. But it has gotten worse. All of the cartilage is gone out of my L7 disc and the bones are rubbing together. Very difficult to walk, very difficult to sit. But I wanted to try to get this across because it's necessary. I'm so concerned about young people. I'm so concerned about the direction that we're going in. I'm so concerned about the elderly. I'm so concerned about those who think that they are giving good instructions when in actuality, all they're doing is leading our children into a deeper level of this world. And this is not the world that God wants us to be a part of. He wants us to be in it, but not of it. Now, that's a very difficult thing, especially during the election and political season. We all are banking on new faces to make new changes and all of this. But all of it is for this world. None of it is for a new world. So I want to go into something that is vitally important to the young and to the old who are to the young who are in a position to give birth to children, to our young boys and girls who are out in the street partying all the time. I love to party too. I was a party animal, anybody that knows me. But when I realized that what I did affected my children, I stopped partying cold turkey. You can ask any one of my children, and I raised them. I gave up that life to raise them in hopes that they would see what I did and try to do at least some of it so that we can build higher and higher and higher until we get ourselves out of this hell of a condition that we're in. So I want to talk a little bit today about something vitally important. I want to put this in first. I'm not talking about any specific person. I'm not talking about any specific person. I'm not talking to argue or debate. I'm giving the information that God instructed me to give, Allah instructed me to give through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that's it. Nothing else to it. So let's get into that right now. First of all, I want to say a prayer. And for those of you who know how I pray, it's not that God, Jesus, none of that. I'm just asking what should be being asked from us to God. I'm asking God to help our young people understand the power that they have in their fearlessness. This is a generation of fearless youth, but they're using their fearlessness to fight each other. And anytime Satan realizes that there is the potential for God to rise above him, in the eyes of the people. He comes in with a meticulous plan to make the people think they're thinking for themselves, but they are not. So I am praying that God will allow our children minimal time to realize the matrix that we are in and put forth maximum effort to get out of the matrix and face the reality of what's going on, to be unselfish, unegotistical, more empathetic. Because the power that God has given you is something that he didn't give us. I'm going to tell you a little story, but this is a part of the prayer. This is a part of the prayer. I'm 51 years old. When I was coming up, there were single mothers. Mothers, total objective, total attention was on helping their young black boys to survive, black mothers. Anytime my brother or I tried to stand up against white oppression, we would get punished. My mother literally instilled in us fear of fighting for the right thing. A prominent person in Manning called my brother a nigger. My brother picked him up, slammed him on his neck, literally almost broke his neck. But when my brother got home, my mother beat him and told him, don't you mess with them good white people. My point being, every level of life that we experienced during the 60s and 70s, if you weren't out in the street, if you were at home, mama was trying to make you docile so that you wouldn't get hurt by the way life was. So my brother and I came up afraid to react to things we should have reacted to. And for many of us, don't say nothing, don't do nothing, just go to school, get an education, get a good job, raise your family. That's the way it was taught to us from my mother. No man is at home with no job, so you had to go out and you had to work. We worked from the 8th grade until until now. But instilled in us was fear. We were afraid. This generation is not afraid because the things of the past you don't know enough about. You should have respect for it, but you don't know enough about it, so you don't fear anything. That's a plus on your part. That means you can take that fearlessness and build a brand new nation if you so desire. But if something is catching your attention and making you think that fighting your own people, making you think that rebelling against your parents, rebelling against your mother, rebelling against your father, rebelling against the family structure is the key to your success, that means that Satan has control of you. So while you're out in the street saying, nobody controls me, the devil controls you. All of us. So my prayers are for clarity. My prayer is that we will begin to look at weapons of mass destruction, these guns, knives. Many of you don't use knives because you don't have that kind of heart. You don't have the heart for close hand-to-hand combat like that yet, but you will get it because you're fearless. Ignorant, but fearless. But if the ignorant continues, the fearlessness doesn't matter because all of your fearlessness will be against your own people and against your own progress, so it becomes counterproductive. Because along with fearlessness, there has to be empathy, respect, desire, hope, all of these other elements that must be blended in. But you, our young people, literally have no hope. That's why you can party all day long until 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. You have no hope. You have no hope in the future. You have no hope in your parents. You have no hope in the church, no hope in politics, no hope in anything but what you see. So my prayers are that God will give us the insight as parents, as people that you look up to begin to steer you in the right direction, because the older people, older perverted men, older sick women are encouraging their children to be disrespectful to community, to friends, to family. We will never grow that way. I don't care how many people in the streets burning down buildings and protesting. We don't have the unification in order to build those things back up. So just as in Detroit, just as in Chicago, when the structure leaves out of the community and the mindset of the people takes over the community, nothing but death and destruction. Little Rock, Arkansas. And one that we continue to forget about is New Orleans, which is the murder capital of the world per capita, because there's more people. In Chicago, you're talking about an area, but in New Orleans, you're talking about the whole thing. So I'm praying to Almighty God. That was a prayer. But it has to be made clear that we are under attack by Satan, and we are under attack by our own low desires to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So every place that mindset goes, the community devolves. And if that mindset takes over the community, then the whole community will devolve. But if a person's evil is stronger than your desire for good, they will win. Which means God has put us in a position to have to fight. I'm not talking physically yet, but I'm talking spiritually. We have to knock out the brains of Satan. So today, because all of us are fighting in our own way to do better, to be better, I wanted to talk about first fetal alcohol syndrome and the symptoms of it, because we are on an alcohol frenzy. And we are thinking that what we do does not have any effect on what's happening in our community, but it is. This is serious now. This generation of young people have said, to hell with the next generation, I'm going to have a good time. Look at you in the street, savagely fighting, getting drunk to the excess, getting high to excess. So I want to go over some things today and give me an hour. If you can't hang on for an hour, that's okay. Just come back to it later on. But what I do beg of you, I beg you to take this commentary and share it, because Facebook has blocked my commentary. It doesn't get out beyond my page much unless you grab it and share it. If you share it, it gets out. I can get 100, 200 people to watch it. But if you don't, it's only going to be 3, 4, 5 people watching it. And this is vitally important. This is from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam as we've been taught. And if you're not loyal to something, you're not loyal to anything. So for the last 30 years, I've been loyal to this teaching, because it has raised me, loyal to it. I know we see our views of things, but the nerve of you to say that what has helped a person grow is not a good thing. If it helps them grow in a positive way, it's a good thing. Jesus says in the scripture, if they are not against us, they are with us. And for any of you that have not read the Holy Quran, the Maulana Muhammad Ali version of the book, that book tells us to protect the Christian, protect the right, protect the righteous, follow and fight with those who fight with you. So let's get into this fetal alcohol syndrome. I want to read these symptoms to you, not in their entirety, but I want to read them one at a time, because I want us to understand that our drinking affects the future. So you can fight all you want in the street, marching, talking about this life matters, that life matters. You can burn down every building in the building. But if you're not cautious to raise the future children properly, if at birth they are mentally ill, they are of no consequence. Satan rules them. So when you drink in excess and you have all of these chemicals in your body, let's go into the symptoms real quick. Please allow me to do this. I have no idea why this thing is doing this. Let me click off of this and let me get into this. Like I said, if you have anything you need to do, go do it. Come back to this later on. Share it so someone else can see it while you're not able to look at it. Let me bring that down and see if I can get what I need from it. Technology, man. So I'm not able to see the entire, I'm not able to read the entire thing. It don't look like I'm going to be able to read it either. All right. First of all, fetal alcohol syndrome. The first symptom of a child who is born addicted to alcohol is intellectual disability. Now, intellectual disability, also refers to as mental retardation, is a term describing personalized neurodevelopmental disorders where there is intellectual or adaptive conditions that is significantly impaired by definition. Our children are being born retarded because of all the chemicals that we put into our body that secretes into the sperm and the eggs of the male and the female, and we produce a child who is born without intellect. So you look at these children by the time they turn 10, 11, or 12, and they're rebelling against their parents with no emotion, no feeling, and you don't want to connect your lifestyle to who they became. And you start telling people, I don't know what's wrong with him. He like his daddy. He like his uncle. No, he is like the thing that we neglected to check before we decided to have a child. Even if you're in your first, second, third trimester, when you find out that you're pregnant, everything stops. You stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop smoking marijuana, you stop looking at scary movies. You don't want to put no fear into the child. You don't want to put too much sympathy into the child by crying all the time. All of these things must change. If you say that you're fighting for a better future, then fighting for a better future is not shooting the ops. Fighting for a better future is not burning down your city. Fighting for a better future is not blaming the white man. Fighting for a better future means that you are being very cautious as to how you raise your children before they even leave the womb. Because in the book of Revelations, it says clearly that the dragon was sitting at the womb of the woman, waiting to devour whatever came out of the woman. And as I said in the past, in the book of Revelation, that snake or that serpent that was in the Bible had gotten so much strength and power that by the time that serpent was at the end of the book in Revelations, it had become a dragon. So we are giving Satan power, thinking that we are rebelling against the system, but we are in actuality assisting the system to destroy an entire generation of people. And we cannot allow another generation to die in ignorance. But once retardation is in play, if the child refuses, if the parent refuses to acknowledge the fact that the child has a mental retardation, then throughout life they have to deal with that. And what you see before you and I and all of this killing and murder and selfishness and everything has to do with that. With the fact that we introduced chemicals along with the food and everything else into our bodies to our children. Whoever has control of the mind of the child wins. That was number one. Number two, symptom two, characteristic facial features. Individuals with fetal alcohol syndrome have very characteristic facial features that include a short palpebral fissure, a long, smooth polythrium, and a thin upper lip. Check it out for yourself. It's possible also to find ptosis in the eyelids, flat mid-face, upper turned nose, flat bridge of the nose, presented by epicanthal folds or skins where the upper eyelids cover. Pay attention to your children. These are things that happen because of fetal alcohol syndrome. And if we're building a nation of people, if we're saying that we're going to turn the tides of what's happening now, then we have to understand this process. We have to accept the fact that we are responsible for our children. It's not the government's responsibility, the church, the neighbors. It's ours. How do you feel to see your child needing a drink of liquor at 5, 10, 12, 14-year-old children in Chicago and other cities hijacking cars at gunpoint to furnish a habit? How does that feel to you? That our children now, it's no accident that the young, the innocent young, are dying right before our eyes. Because you don't see the death that is behind the door from the actions that we choose to take. then God has to allow our young children, as I said before, to die right before our eyes unjustifiably by people who suffer from chemical imbalance. That you can go up to a child and put a bullet in their head at 5 years old. That you can shoot a child in the stomach at 5 years old. That you can shoot into a home not knowing who is where and where they are, where they're sleeping, where they're standing, and kill a 2-year-old child, a 7-year-old child. That is an illness. But since we are not willing to address the illness, God is going to allow the effects of the cause to be made manifest right before our eyes until we continue to say, what is the problem? And then he will give you someone to tell you the answer to the problem. But if you don't listen to the answer, then we have to continue in our devolving state. More children will die. More young will die. More adults will die. You can't be quiet in this case. That's over. That is over. Number 3, delayed growth. I'm not upset. I'm very passionate about what I talk about. I don't know when my death day is coming. So I try to get out all the information that Allah puts into my heart. I try to get it out. And nobody else is doing it right now, not in South Carolina, not in Manning, not in Clarendon County. Whatever they're teaching, if it's helping you, praise God for that. But understand that Christ says to come out of this world. It has nothing for us. Be in it, but not of it. And as long as you are encouraging your and my children, whether they're in college, preachers, scholars, politicians, or on the street hustling drugs, as long as we are encouraging them to be a part of this system that is already dying, as Dr. King said after the I Have a Dream speech, he said, I fear that I am leading my people into a burning house. It's burning. But there is a way out. And the way out requires that those of us who are responsible for the young pick up the responsibility and do what is necessary to get them to the promised land. Now, I don't have no place in the promised land. I'm a coward. That is the point I was making at the beginning. If there is no Allah in me, then I am not a man. I'm a man with God, and that's it. So he will carry me as long as I carry the message. But I don't anticipate going into no promised land. I don't have that courage. But that is the example of the children of Israel who were not allowed to go into the promised land. We had too many questions, too many doubts. But the young, you're ready. You have just been misled by demonic thought, selfish ideas, and satanic actions and introductions. And you love it. So you have no concern about your seed. And your seeds are dying in the womb, not physically, but mentally and spiritually, and dying out of the womb, because the very first thing to develop in the womb of a child is the brain. And if the brain is full of poisonous chemicals, what type of brain will it be? Number 3, delayed growth. There's 10 of them. Fetal alcohol syndrome, the prenatal and postnatal growth is usually delayed compared with their peers. The consumption of alcohol during pregnancy can, some of the words are missing, it can create an inhibition in the prenatal growth that leads to babies that are small for their age. Now the children are growing up fast, big, coming out of the womb big, but that is because of the chemicals in the food and the water. They're literally being pumped full of steroids and alcohol. What kind of a chance do our children have? When you got a handful of money and you can go to the health food store and get as healthy a food as you can, buy you a Berkey system for water, clean water. You can do all of these things, but you opt out of that to buy rims, cars, shoes, clothes. And leave your and my children to battle mental illness on their own. You mark my word. I told you some time ago, before the children graduated from school, that about 50 to 55% or more of them will either be dead or in jail, or be joining on to some type of organization that is not for their best benefit, and it's happening right before our eyes. It's not me predicting it. It's all from Almighty God Allah, and it's all a warning. So I don't ask anyone to do anything that I didn't do. Anyone that knows me knows that I raised my 3 sons as best I could, but I gave up the street. I hustled marijuana for a while in the house, and then I had to quit with that. All right. I don't know what number it is. Thing is blocking it. I think it's number 6. Microcephaly is a term describing the abnormal brain development that results in a smaller head compared to normal. It can be presented at birth or develop after a few years of life. Individuals with microcephaly often have intellectual disabilities, speech problems, abnormal facial features, poor motor skills, dwarfism, and they have seizures. Most of our children, the ones you see on the internet who are always flashing money around the first of the month, they get a mental illness check. I'm not being funny. I'm being as serious as a heart attack. They are underdeveloped, but you have an underdeveloped brain that joins on to a group of people or that are looking at the internet with all of this killing and rape and murder and gang activity, and they go deep into it. They can't do without it. So all day, if they come on the internet, they're smoking, they're drinking, they're doing something. Otherwise, they can't function. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to help my people get out of this hell of a condition. And you all have got to get a stronger backbone when it comes to somebody saying something that needs to be said, because I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about us as a people. There's a difference. You want to get angry with me as the person, but I'm talking to you and to me. Okay, that was number 4. Number 5 is ADHD. You know much about that. Attention deficit hyper disorder. This hyperactive disorder is a condition where the patient has passive activity, difficulty controlling behavior that is not appropriate for their age, excessive activity, difficult controlling behavior that is not appropriate for their age. 9, 10, 8-year-old children, they can have, young girls can have sex better than a grown-up. Yeah, they can. Because when you have attention deficit disorder, whatever is the primary influence in your brain is what you gravitate towards. And every show from Family Guy to every cartoon on Nickelodeon is either talking about homosexuality, lesbianism, or sex. And once that child learns that I got this little thing between my legs and I got this other thing, and they get the pleasure out of that, you're not turning them around from that. Attention deficit disorder. My son loves to watch TED Talks. He's 14 years old. And he loves to watch something called Vsauce. It's like a TED Talk. But they experimented on the ability of adults to hold attention by putting them in a room with nothing in it but a button for stimulation for 20 minutes. And if they could stay in the room without pressing the button, which was going to give them a shock, then it proved that they were able to sit for 20 minutes without any other stimuli but what's in their brain. None of them succeeded. 20 minutes, they had to hit that button and get some type of shock, some type of stimulus. That's what's happening to our children. That's why they got to constantly hear that boom, boom, boom of music. And we enjoyed music, but there was a time for it. But our children, from sun up to sundown. I did a commentary on Mute the Music on my page, the 19 report. You can check it out. We got about 35 more minutes. ADHD, all a part of fetal alcohol syndrome. Now you tell me, if you do fight for a better situation, how are we going to maintain that situation with mentally retarded people at the helm? Symptom 6, seizures. A seizure occurs when there is an abnormal, excessive, synchronous neuronal something, I can't see the word. Neuronal activity in the brain. It can cause uncontrolled shaking, movement, loss of consciousness, shaking only involving a certain part of the body, memory loss, and more episodes, usually lasting less than 2 minutes. In order to survive, our children, you always see them. Psh, 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 psh. I'm not saying marijuana is bad. Listen to my commentary on marijuana and listen to my commentary on alcohol, on my YouTube channel. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying too much of anything causes a problem. Symptom 7, scoliosis from fetal alcohol syndrome. All of our youngins walking around with a hump in their back. Scoliosis, caused from alcohol. Scoliosis is a term that refers to a sideways curvature of the spine. Looking at it from the back, the spine will not appear to be straight. In mild cases or cases the curvature has stabilized, treatment is generally not required, but the spine begins to curve. Now, I told you about my back injury in the beginning. My mom and my dad drink liquor. And ain't nobody gonna tell me I don't have mental problems. I got them. Without a doubt. I fight them every single day of my life. Symptom 8, cleft lips and pallets. If you haven't seen someone with a cleft lip, the opening of the upper lip or roof of the mouth has not properly resulted in an opening into the nose. It's like a curvature here. It can result in speech problems where their mouth is open all the time. So instead of saying street, they say screet. It's a screet. I've been down the street. I'm not being funny. I'm being serious. They can't say certain words because their lips cannot come down to form the street. So they say screet, screet. I going down the street. You know people like that. Possible fetal alcohol syndrome. Almost finished. I want to put these things out there because we are dealing with God and science now. We're not just dealing with hearsay and faith, blind faith. We're dealing with God and science. Symptom 9 is hearing loss. I have hearing problems now. I hear that my ears are very sensitive to sound. And sometimes I can't even hear what's being said. I'm convinced I'm a fetal alcohol syndrome child. My moods go up, down, over, sideways, under, and I fight these things on a daily basis through prayer, meditation, exercising, reading, concentrating, trying to do the right thing, hitting on the punching bag, riding on the bicycle, looking at informative information, talking to people, trying to balance out whatever is going on in my head. To see if I'm crazy or to see if what I'm thinking is proper, I do that. And most people would do that. But our children who aren't even aware that they have an issue, and the parents who don't think that anything they have done in their lifetime has affected their children, don't even try to help them. I have to take ashwagandha. It calms the nerves. I drink nerve calming tea. I get anxiety. I get panicky. I get uneasy. I want to kill people who aggravate me. I want to wipe them totally off the planet until the thought comes in. Now, you know, if you do that, there's going to be some consequences to that. Your children are fighting that. Why do you think they're pulling the trigger so fast? Why do you think they're starting trouble so easy, fighting so much? Same problem, fetal alcohol syndrome. For those who understand, I'm including myself in this. I'm not talking at or about. I'm talking with. Hearing loss. Loss or impairment occurs when there is a partial or total loss of ability to hear occurs in one or both ears. I have a ringing in my ear. It's important to recognize this issue among young children, and hearing impairment or loss can significantly affect their ability to learn. Again, dyslexia, learning disorders, all of that from fetal alcohol syndrome and drug abuse. Finally, number 10 is refractive issues. Refractive issues are vision problems. Let's see if I can get this down here. We're almost done. Refractive issues or vision problems are relatively common. They can generally be, can't see the word, they're talking about farsightedness, nearsightedness, pressophobia, astigmatism, refers to the bending of light when it passes through an object. Vision occurs when light is refracted, when it passes through the lens or cornea, causing visual issues. Many of our children have visual issues, and they have no way of being able to say, I'm having a seeing problem. Those are the symptoms of fetal alcohol syndrome. I wanted to get that out first. And I will say this, that when you've been doing something for as long as I have and people like me have, sometimes it gets very discouraging when you put so much into something and the response to it is not as overwhelming as you would like it to be. Because in Clarendon County and in Manning and in South Carolina in particular, we need our own understanding of what's going on in the world. We can't take any other person's advice of how they do things because it is not conducive. It does not relate to how we do things here. That's why people can come from out of town and throw an event and make hundreds of thousands of dollars and leave all of you with just a good time and broke. And if a person in town tried to do the very same thing, it wouldn't be nowhere near the same crowd. Because they understand their area and the concept, and they come and bring it here, and we jump right on board. But here we are lost, so we don't contribute and help each other to grow. We would rather see somebody else grow and brag about them vicariously as if though we benefit something from them, and they use us. And when a person like me, who is instructed to tell the people what's going on, that we should stop allowing people to use us, you get upset with me. Nobody's going to treat you fair in this life. I'm almost done. I have so much to do, but I think I'll do it in 2 parts. Nobody's going to treat you fair. But I want to read this out of the King James Version of the Bible, Matthew 12, 34 and 37. And the reason I come out of the Bible is because I believe the Bible is a book of power, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, but it is a poison book because we take allegories and parables for truth. And we use those allegories and parables to control the people, as opposed to understanding the real meaning behind them. Now, it's thundering and lightning outside. So if I lose connection or if I just black out all the way, I apologize, and I'll try to come back on and finish. Matthew 12, 34 through 37 in the King James Version of the Bible says, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasures of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasures bringeth forth evil things. Now you tell me what we're bringing forth. No matter. Look at our children and tell me what we're bringing forth. Is it a generation that we can rely on to take us to the next step of our evolution? Back to God, back to the promised land, back to our once immaculate state. Not immaculate because we had some problems, but back to our once grandiose state? I hope I'm using the right word. You tell me. Never mind that they're in college. They have a problem. Never mind that they're a politician. Politicians are crooked. The preacher is crooked. Not all, but many. We have to delve deeper than that. So the book says, O generation of vipers, pertaining to those who have venomous intentions, venomous spirits, and spew venomous words to the people and makes evil fair seeming. Anyone that makes evil fair seeming is an enemy to our growth, and they should be seen as an enemy and treated as an enemy. That is your op. Your opposition is anybody that impedes the growth of our children. Saying that you love them, it means nothing. Showing that you love them means something. Well done is way better than well said. So as long as we talk this crap about loving, I'll kill for my children, you a lie. Yeah, you'll kill, but not for your children, because you are killing your children with your words and with your actions. That's not me talking, that's the book talking. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? Because see, when a man starts to make money in this world, he gets confused. She gets confused, and we start to justify everything in order that our money train does not stop. But there is a way to say to yourself, this is wrong, and still make your money. There's a right way to do the wrong thing. until we can do better. Old generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? How? How can you, being evil, talk all this good talk? I don't trust you. You up to no good, and your venomous words are leading more and more people into no good. A good man out of good treasures of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasures of his heart bringeth forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. I'm going to say that again. Rather you're a preacher, politician, or you on the street, rather you in the church, don't matter. If you speak a word, you're going to be held accountable. You and me, us, we. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. So we are now at the process. We are at a crossroad. When a person gives you their word is their bond, and if they break their word, they should give their life. That's how we're taught in Islam. Somebody better bear witness to it. Your word is your bond. If you break your word, give your life. 45 minutes in, got a few more minutes. I think I covered a lot of the things. Excellent. I want to say this too. This is out of Numbers 14 and 18. Now, Numbers is the book where you start to categorizing the different tribes and families and all this stuff and putting them into place. The Quran says that God made us into different tribes and families so we would know one another and not hate one another. Everybody is not intended to join together. Every person of brown or black skin is not intended to be together. Your views and mine may be different, but we can live in society respectably and respect each other's boundaries without conflict. It's not as hard as it sounds. And if we are unable to do that, then Numbers 14 and 18 says this: the Lord is slow to anger, because you're being taught by, you know what? Church confuses me now. Because I don't hear preachers condemning anything. They don't condemn nothing. Everything is good. And they find a way to weasel their words around evil and make it fair seeming. So in my opinion, and according to the scripture, these people are as venomous a viper as Satan. They just have on a collar and a title of preacher. Because if you're not condemning the wrong thing, how is the society going to grow into the right thing? If everything you say is everything's good, everything good, you good, good, good. So the Lord in Numbers 14 and 18 says the Lord is slow to anger. That's why most of you stay at a certain church, because the preacher tell you everything good. The minute the preacher says something is, listen, a lot of people don't like to hang with me. So I don't want to drink. I don't want to smoke. Hey, do your thing. I just think, oh man, that nigga Keith, man, that nigga think he righteous or some shit, man. You know that nigga. Come on, I'm trying to do better for the future, as you should do. Your life belongs to whatever God said it should be, or else he can take it. So right in the midst of everything that's going on, life after life after life after life after life after life, Satan is not over God. God is over Satan. So why would God allow it to happen? Because you have to take the life of some to teach the rest. But as long as you're not learning from the life of those who die, as Jadakiss said, you might get missed for maybe 2 or 3 hours until they light their split. Forget about the circumstances of the death, the person who died, why they shouldn't have died, and why you should ask God, why did they die, and how can we do better? You forget all of that. So death after death after death. Numbers 14 and 18 of the Bible. If you learn how to tune into God right, he will show you how to understand the book. The Lord is slow to anger, abounding in love and forgiving sin and rebellion. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children for the sins of the parent to the third and fourth generation. Y'all hear me? That was an instructions in the book of Numbers, so that the parents would understand we got to do the very best we can so that the sins that we commit will not be put upon our children from birth. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to party. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do whatever. And you think you're not going to pay for that? I'm not going to pay. I pay for it every single day of my life. I see my children in turmoil. My children will call me and say, Dad, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I say, Lord, have mercy. I messed these children up. I don't want no pass. I want forgiveness and mercy, but I don't want no damn pass. I want to understand how to help the generation and help the next one after that until the day I die. I don't want no damn pass. I don't want nobody telling me that, oh, you did good, you did good. To hell with that. I see the results of what our children are going through, and I want to do more, as you should. Numbers 14 and 18, read it for yourself. The Lord is slow to anger. So because he's slow to anger, we think we getting away with everything. That's like the police investigating you for 5 years before they catch you up on racketeering and drug charges. You really think you're getting away with it. But for 5 years, they just caught Jam Master Jay's killers 18 years after they killed him. The Lord is slow to anger, abounding in love and forgiving sins and rebellion, yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children for the sins of the parents to the third and fourth generation. You know you cussed your mama and daddy. Why are you sitting up there acting like you in shock when your child cuss you? They're going to cuss you at a different level. They're going to use more words and they're going to put it on God. That's the generation. They're fighting a demon they can't even see. The selfish, egotistical thoughts in their brain. They want wealth. They want growth. And they're getting it, but they're getting it from the left-hand side. And they think this is good. Only temporarily. Know why? Because God will forgive you of your sins and of your rebellion, but you can't stay in it forever. Fetal alcohol syndrome. We can't let another generation of children die, man. We got to sacrifice everything that's in us to fix it. We got to go to war with the devil, the one that is within us and the one that is in anybody around us. If we stick together, see, the reason Satan wins is because Satan has more followers and dedicated believers than God does. And the church is full of satanic followers. They're not going to help you fight a God war because they want to do the same dirt that the street is doing, just that they do it at night. I know it. I lived the night life. I hustled marijuana at night, and I know the people who came to buy it. But during the day, whole different person. The Lord is slow to anger. Now, I'm going to close with this. I had a lot more. Maybe I'll do it at another time. The influence starts in the very life germ called egg and sperm. That's where we start to influence our children. Depending upon what we do, how we do it, the foods we eat, what chemicals we put in our body, including prescription drugs, illegal drugs, the germ in the body begins to make the children unfocused and lazy at birth. The only thing that motivates the child is evil. The only thing that motivates the child to walk is their curiosity as to what that is over there in the corner. If it's a gun, they'll pull the trigger. If it's a phone, they'll throw it on the floor, they'll play with it. If it's a stove, they'll put their hand on it. The first thing children learn how to do is to destroy. Did you know that? A child destroys. A child is destructive. Do you give them $100, $200, $300, $1,000 phone and they'll take it and boom, throw it on the floor. So if we're 20, 25, 30 years old and all we can think about is killing, murder, and destruction, that means that our mentality is childlike. We're retarded. We're suffering from some chemical imbalance, emotional imbalance that causes us to have not grown. Many of you will never leave Manning. You'll never travel. You never get on a plane. You don't know how to get a passport. You don't know how to use a bank account. You don't know how to do anything, but you know how to wreak havoc though. Then from the moment a child can see, you got them strapped down in the back seat, as I said, and mute the music, and they're listening to that bass that disrupts the very, if you look at the video I have in it where water is coming out of a hose in the front of a speaker, and as the speaker is bumping, the water takes on an image. The water takes on a pattern. It changes the pattern of the water from a straight flow to a twisted flow or some other flow. It's called sound cymatics. Scientists have studied this. That's why they make the speaker the way it is. That's why they go into the studio and make the sounds on the 4th and 5th and 6th track the way it is. Because it is controlling you and I, and it is bending the blood flow to our brain. If you listen to bass long enough, by the end of the night in a club, somebody wants to fight. Because the bass disrupts the flow of the blood, and then the vocals disrupts the flow of your thoughts. Kill, 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 murder, murder, murder. And at birth, our children are strapped down in the back seat of the car listening to that. I did it. Ask my children. There wasn't a time I didn't have a car. I put speakers in the seats, big 12-inch speakers. And so if you sitting there, you boom, 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 I cause damage. So I don't judge my children what they're doing. I judge their actions. I just like some of the things they do. But I understand clearly how they got where they are. And I hurt daily for them and for all of our children. Because the hereafter will be filled with children of all colors, all races, you got to look out for everybody, but I got to look out for black people first. Because we're the furthest behind. Every people, white, Chinese, Indian, have a society that is their own. And your African people who have started Jamaican communities, African communities, you can come in and buy things. But as far as an American community of black people who protect their community and have stores and everything, we don't have that. The violent images, the violent music. Then you put the guns in their hand, and it is a recipe for disaster because they no longer have the ability to reason. I'm closing. No matter what organization you join or what you do, the thing that you and I are fighting against, we will eventually become. If every single police officer is ousted out of the community, this happened in Africa with Idi Amin. He ran all of the white folks out of Africa. But the white folks were the ones who understood business and how to maintain business. So the white folks left, and then the country fell apart. If you run out all of the police force, the crooked ones, the good ones, all of you just run them out. What do you think comes after lawlessness? Anarchy, chaos. We're not in a position to do the right thing. We don't know how to do the right thing for a long period of time. If you tell a young child, hey, don't smoke that cigarette in here. Oh, I'm sorry about that word, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. Tomorrow they will do the same thing. And you say, don't smoke. Didn't I tell you not to smoke that cigarette in here? They'll say, listen to my words and listen out for it. All right, now I done stopped smoking it one time. I ain't going to do it again. Because they can't rationally reason the fact that if I said don't smoke it today, I mean don't ever smoke it in here. We're in trouble. I thank you for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to my big homie, Dale Castro Powell of The Truth Show, The 19 Report, and Telling It Like It Is. We still here. We ain't going nowhere. We talk every single day. We looking out for each other every single day. I want to give a shout out to my big homie, Doug, coming back from New York City, bringing me that Sicilian pizza. I appreciate it, big homie. I'm going to try to take my time and enjoy that. Again, we talk every single day. You need brotherhood. You know, we're not in a position to be fighting and all that stuff, but we have to use our brains now. Fetal alcohol syndrome, it's a problem. And I'm telling you, if you back your children in their evil, they're going to turn against you. That's like having a venomous snake in an encagement in your home. And you feed the snake every day, and you think because you feed him, he's your friend, and you reach your hand in there to pick him up, and he kills you. That's our children. Venomous. Thank you for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. I did not get to finish everything, but I am grateful for what God has allowed. So I'm going to stop it right there. Thank you all for tuning in. And share this information, because the only way I can get it out is if you share it. My page has been blocked. I'm considered a something other conservative or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, man. I appreciate it.